Red Wave. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Beware of Bulldogs. We're your hosts, Caleb and Caleb. I'm Caleb. That's Caleb Pletz. We're going to be breaking down the game in Vegas yesterday, where the Dogs got obliterated 59-14. It was a rough one. Before everybody gets in here, or as everyone gets in here, we're going to go through the scoreboard. If you're listening to it the day after in audio form, feel free to skip ahead, but we're going to run through the games while everyone gets in here. But Mr. Pletz, how was the weekend, man?
Weekend was fun, other than the game, obviously. But yeah, it was a good time. Lots to do in Vegas, and I got to see my brother and his wife and his son that live in there for now. They're actually in the process of moving, but so it was a good time to have the family together. And obviously, Allegiant Stadium is amazing. So this was my first time there. Really cool stadium, and I do think it's nicer than SoFi because I did go to the LA Bowl, a year and a half ago, or I guess that was 2 years ago now. And comparing relatively new NFL stadiums, I think Allegiant is way nicer. So yeah, it was just cool to kind of have that experience. Bummer game for my son's first football game, just to see Fresno State get blasted. I mean, obviously he won't remember, but that was tough. And I guess on top of it too, like this was the first time I ever actually put money down at a sports book, like betting on games. And I mean, I lost every single thing I touched was a loser. So it was just a pretty rough weekend.
Oh, dude, it was. I'm sorry. I feel bad for you. That's usually how it goes, though.
Right. Which just enforces the reason why we don't actually put money on any of the any of our thoughts or ideas.
Oh man. I think no one's going to be okay because
I think so.
He's not going to remember that game. Now, I will say, if we continue losing and no one's at every single game, I don't know. I might start reading into that a little bit, but
yeah, I mean that's probably the only game he's going to this year, just for bedtime purposes. I don't know. Actually, there's a 5:00 game. I think that he might get to stay a little bit, but we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's all good. My son right now wants to come here. Hi, bud. All right, there's True Dog. Okay. We're going to run through the scoreboard really quick. I'm going to share the screen. And we're going to get – I got this terrible one pulled up. But we're going to run through the Mountain West games. And first off, Caleb, as everyone gets in here, we're switching things up. Boise State, Washington State. Boise State destroyed Washington State. Okay, bud. All right, hold on. I know you're going to want to take over. You're like, Dad, you're just going to talk. Sorry, bud. So Boise, dude, all they have is Ashton Jainty. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I don't know, Caleb, if you watch this game. He's amazing, but they destroy Washington State. Any thoughts on this?
I didn't get to watch it at all, but yeah, it seems like this is like – video game type where you are doing the road to glory and you're the running back and you're the only option for your team and you're just going to win the Heisman and carry your team all the way there. Which credit to Boise for not trying to get too cute, and they're just going to pound the rock with their star. So, honestly, I'm glad that Boise is not on our regular season schedule. I think that's going to be difficult. But, I mean, obviously, you watched it. I didn't get to watch it. So, I mean, early look ahead to next week. How is Fresno State matching up against Washington State? Do we have a chance, or is it maybe going to be similar in difficulty to UNLV? Because they have a mobile quarterback, and he's also good at passing, too. So, it could be a challenge.
It's going to be similar in difficulty. This Washington State team is the real deal. I mean, granted, they had some turnovers, and that's why this game looks the way it does. But if we play just after this game last week, dude, nothing's going to surprise me if Washington State puts up 50, 60 points on us and we have struggle stopping them. Mateer is very good, but Jainty is unbelievable. I hate that whenever we struggle, Boise State just continues to dominate. I hate that. I can't stand it. We'll keep moving on. San Diego State lost to Central Michigan. I didn't get to watch any of these other games.
I do know that was on a last-second field goal. I did have a play on this game for money, so I was kind of keeping track of this one, actually. So that was a last-second field goal. State? No, I bet on Central Michigan, but they were favored by 1.5, obviously. So, they won the game by 1 point, so I still lose.
What do they call that? Bad beats? Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
New Mexico put up 50 on New Mexico State. I think you and I both picked New Mexico this game.
Yeah.
I didn't see this game. Dampier, 248 yards through the air. Pretty good. Hey, Wyoming got their first win. They beat Air Force 31-19. Good for the Cowboys.
Yeah, good for them. And I was surprised at how many points were scored in this game. I was expecting us to be a little lower scoring. But, yeah, good for Wyoming. It was a home game for them, so I think that probably helped. And, yeah, the Air Force is definitely not the Air Force of old, and it's going to struggle for the rest of the season.
Yep. All right, that does it for the scoreboard. Short list today. Bulldogs, Bob, Andrew, good to see you guys. Hey, let us know if you're in the chat. Let us know on Twitter or X. Excuse me, on X or YouTube. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Always like hearing that, and say what's up to the chat. Bulldogs Bob says it would be good for the sport if Jainty won the Heisman. I will say I am cheering for him to win the Heisman. I'll put it that way. He's so good. Okay, Caleb, let's get into this game. Overall feeling after the game. How are you feeling right now?
Probably first thought is just confused. Like, how does this happen? I mean, I know that this is a good UNLV team with a good, unique offense that is difficult to defend. If you're not necessarily ready for it, or if the defense, maybe doesn't have the athletes who can tackle in space. So UNLV absolutely took advantage of Fresno State in that regard, and just a lot of other, errors too. I mean, 2 special teams touchdowns the Bulldogs gave up, and then, offensive woes like I haven't seen in a long time. So, yes, all phases of the game were terrible, but also credit to UNLV. I mean, the backup Hajj Malik Williams was ready, and he's a really good player. Like, I do think UNLV upgraded with this quarterback, and so one of the funnier things is, if you were at the game, you probably early enough and heard the starting lineups introduced when. They're running through the whole lineup, blah, blah, blah. No one in the crowd's really paying attention. They announced starting quarterback Hajj Malik Williams. The crowd, it was probably the loudest point of the whole game. Like, they erupted for him when he was announced as starter. So, obviously, I think the crowd is behind him. And so just kind of a funny scene there before the game.
Well, we saw on X, too, the players. They're all on board for Williams. They're really excited, and I'm sure Ricky White is just thrilled. He had a big game too. He's only caught 10 catches in the entire season, and then he had 10 catches in this game.
Yeah, he almost exactly matched his season totals in this game with 10 and I think 127. He had 128 yards coming in, so yeah, almost exactly matched it.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I'm with you. Confused. How do we let this happen? In my opinion, the prep doesn't change much. And that's why we released the preview because we knew that Sluka left before we had released it. But we put it out there because we thought, you know what? Not a lot changes. But I guess I was wrong. I don't know. I mean, Hajj Malik Williams, way better passer of the football. But at the same time, we got to play. It's the same offense. They're running the same stuff. Our defense got to be ready. And then offensively, boy, oh boy, Caleb, it was rough. Let's get to the chat really quick. This guy, what's going on? That's That's the name. This guy. It's going to be a rough season. If we play like that, it will be. Losing like that is embarrassing and frustrating, but we need to remember it's just one game. I think that's key to remember. For a long time, well, the college football world says you got to go 1-0. Okay, so things change. We move on. We got to get better from this. We take the L, but we also want to learn some lessons. Those are the L's that we want to take home with us. We're learning lessons from this game. We're going to get better. Andrew is at the Casa prepping for Sunday night squats. Way to go, Andrew. He's got to flush out the frustration, he says. Okay, Clarence. Clarence, I think this is an overreaction, but fire the coaching staff at the end of the season. Hire someone other than former players. Spend the money. I don't think so. Not yet. I'm not there yet. Granted, Clarence, I will say, I could get there, but I'm not there yet. UNLV took full advantage of their bye week. We're hurt, banged up and we really need this bye week, Bulldogs Bob says. So, and he says, side note, it was pathetic that UNLV only had less than 25,000. A ranked Bulldog team always get 40,000. It's one reason why we are going to the Pac. True.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to overreact yet. I mean, my overreaction is your comment, Claris. That's my overreaction. But I don't want to overreact just yet to getting rid of the coaching staff. I do say that I think this coaching staff is going to have to do a better job prepping because we just came out flat. I'm going to save it for as we run through numbers, actually, what I have to say. So let's start there, Caleb. Final score 59-14. Rebels moved to 4-0. We dropped to 3-2, 1-1 in the conference. After this, Caleb, I think it's going to be tough for us to get to the Mountain West Championship just because of Boise and UNLV. We're gonna have to hope that UNLV loses twice or Boise loses twice now.
Totally, yeah, and especially with only playing 7 conference games, the margin of error is very thin. So, yeah, Dogs have to win the next 5 conference games. So that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's start with the quarterback, Mikey Keene, 27 for 41, 316 yards, 1 touchdown, threw 2 picks. Joshua Wood came in the game, and on his first pass play, he threw an interception on the first drive. Mandel did get in, and he also threw an interception. So 4 total picks. Caleb, reaction to the quarterbacks and Mikey.
I don't think I've ever seen a Fresno State game where we have 3 different quarterbacks throw an interception. So that's not a record that we want to be setting. In regards to the Joshua Wood pick, I didn't like the timing of that play call. I mean, I like having a wrinkle where we're going to have Josh Wood maybe have a look to throw it deep. But I think on the second play of the game, I'd like to see the starter get some rhythm. And obviously they're completed the first pass to Mac and got a good chunk. Like, okay, we're rolling. And then we pull the starter and then go deep with the running QB. I don't know. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, maybe later in the game where everyone is hyper focused at the beginning of the game. I mean, I'm sure the coaching staff are locked in the whole game, but it just seemed like weird timing to have that be the call. And so threw into double coverage. It got picked. And then, I guess it kind of worked like a punt as we had them down, I think inside the 5, but I really didn't love that play call. And obviously, Josh Wood throwing into coverage, not a great throw either.
Yeah, I really, I was, when I've said it, I was thinking, Pat McCann has gotten better. We've watched him grow. And then this game, we took a step back. Pat McCann's play calling, in my opinion. Now, the O-line was terrible. They were really bad. We have a lot to work on there. But talking about this second play call, we didn't give UNLV any other looks. So what do we expect? You're going to stick with him. I'm sure Wood was told, I shouldn't say I'm sure, but the look is to throw it deep. And we have been used to taking deep shots. UNLV knows this early on. And to throw it into double coverage, really acceptable. Get Mikey going, get the run game going. And we talked about the run game was going to have to be a key part of this offense in this game to keep their offense off the field. It never got started. It didn't even get started. We threw a pass and then boom, interception. I think it was bad, dude. And that kind of set the tone. And then quarterback wise, it's just not impressive. The word you used, the first word you used, confused. As I'm confused on decisions Mikey makes. I'm confused on why we have 3 different quarterbacks in the game throwing interceptions with different looks for each one. And I mean, I know the O-line has been bad, and you could see Mikey when Mikey fumbled the handoff. There was an RPO read, and he pulled it. And when he pulled it, he fumbled it. It tells you everything. I don't know if I watched the play a couple times. He's under so much pressure because the O-line. I mean, and I was listening to Pat Hill. Pat Hill was he was frustrated with the O-line. He was not happy, but they ran a lot of twists and things like that on the D line and brought linebackers and they brought pressure and they did a good job. UNLV did. So I got to give them credit because they picked apart our O-line. But Mikey was scared. And you know what? I get it, because what are you supposed to do when you're getting crushed every play? Now, I'm not trying to give him all these excuses. He's still got to make the right read. There was a long third down. I think it was like 3rd and 14, and he threw it into triple coverage, tried to force it to Josiah Freeman. This was early on in the game, and you just knew it's off. He's trying to get rid of the ball. He's pulling the ball and not ready because he's on his back foot trying to hand the ball off. But dude, it was bad.
Yeah,
sorry,
I think
this guy just make me angry again. Sorry, man. Sorry, we're just getting it out. This is the first time I've been able to get it out.
I agree. I think that Mikey is just not able to be comfortable in the pocket, and probably doesn't trust his offensive line to give him more than like 2 seconds to try to do something. But at the same time, his footwork is still crazy. I mean, he takes like an 8-step drop every time. I think that part of that is his height. He's got to get back so that way he can see what's going on. And I don't know. It's just like he's never in an advantageous position to like make a throw down the field when he has to get out of the pocket. I mean, every time he's like 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage and like backpedaling. So part of that, I think, is just his tendencies. And the other part of it is he's just not able to be comfortable. And the offensive line isn't doing him any favors. But also some poor throws and poor decision-making, like the interception. I mean, the one on the sideline where the UNLV guy made an incredible play. I mean, he can't really – right. Yes, he threw it into good coverage and the DB made a great throw. But, I mean, there was a lot of other throws that just were not there. So – yeah, I mean, I don't really know what the solution is because it doesn't seem like we're going to be able to fix the offensive line for these last 7 games. So, where is the offense to go here? Because if we aren't able to run the ball and our quarterback can't really gunsling it around, we're kind of stuck offensively unless we play a far inferior defense.
Well, and I think that's where guys like Raylan Sharp are going to have to be key players in this, because we have to change how we play the game. We have to make in-game adjustments. We see the O-line is struggling. We're not connecting on the deep ball. The teams know we're going to do that. And Mikey's not going to have enough time anyways. So we've done a decent job of hitting the underneath route, check downs, things like that. But now we need to unfortunately, that's going to have to become our identity. And I feel like I was talking about this last year because Mikey was under pressure, and Mikey doesn't really have the arm. At least last year, I didn't think he did, and this year, that's still a question mark for me. Catch the ball, get it out if we're throwing. Unfortunately, we're back to that. We're back. It's 2 years in a row now. We're back to it. Now, I will say the difference with this year is that we have really quick wide receivers that I think are going to be good in a system like that, but we'll see what happens. We can beat guys off the line. And they're shifty. We can do that. But once again, it's going to be a struggle for me if we can't get guys like Malik Sherrod and Elijah Gilliam going. Hey, it's going to be rough, dude. Quickly get to the chat for quarterbacks. Bulldogs Bob says that he wouldn't oppose a change at quarterback. So, I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, in this game, it was certainly looking like it wouldn't hurt to get a different look in there. Obviously, Mandel got in late in the game and threw a pick. So, yeah, I mean, is this a season where we're looking at building up the quarterback of the future and saying, I don't know if Mikey's the guy? I'm certainly not saying that that's what I'm advocating for, but this, after a game like this, you start to think like, okay, like, is this as good as it's going to get this year? Let's get the young guy in there and get him some live reps that maybe will help for the future seasons. So, we did talk about this in the preview. Say what kind of leash is Mikey on? What performance would he have to get him pulled? And I mean, we almost saw it here with the 2 interception game again. So I don't know. I mean, if he keeps throwing 2 picks a game, there probably has to be a change made. I mean, unless one of the coaches is just going to take full responsibility and say, no, I'm calling bad plays or something.
Brian Hitz, what's going on, Brian? Glad to have you here. He said, oh boy, you really want to recap this one? No. But here we are. Chris, what's going on, Chris? Good to see you. Chris Lake, need a quarterback with some size. Hainer wasn't the biggest guy, but he had some beef on him at least. And yes, Andrew Wren says, twists and stunts take time. The adjustment has to be the quick game, screen game, delay runs. I agree. We saw last year, the only time they got Trey Watson involved was tight end screens. We're going to have, HB draws, let Malik make some moves, get in space. Same with Elijah and Donaldson. Clarence says, seems like you may be coming around to hiring new staff already. And then Bulldogs Bob, getting into running backs, and we'll talk about running backs right now. Sherrod hasn't been helping. If he isn't healthy, we need to play Donaldson more. I agree. And I saw this from multiple people. Sorry, what was that?
I was just saying I agree 100% with Bob.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the numbers. Jonathan Arsenault, 4 carries for 30 yards. Elijah Gilliam, 7 carries for 30 yards. Malik Sherrod led the team in carries with 9, had 5 yards and a touchdown. Joshua Wood ran the ball twice for 2 yards. And then Bryson Donaldson, 1 carry for 1 yard. Dude, and this is the thing. I talked to multiple people about this. Why play Donaldson if he's going to run the ball one time? At least give him the opportunity to keep his red shirt. I mean, we know he's the better back, and I don't know if they're trying to find a back that, if they're missing blocking assignments and pass pro or what. Because I didn't go back and watch this again. I wasn't going to. So why even play Donaldson if you're going to only give him 1 carry? Otherwise, give him the ball. Let's see what he can do. Because, I mean, not a single player on this team. Granted, we did have 3 other running backs carry the ball, but not a single running back hit double digits in carries. We only had 2 running backs in double-digit rushing yards. Granted, O-line, again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the O-line, honestly, Caleb, the O-line was probably the worst part about this game. We really got to figure it out. Dude, and then Arsenault, he had a long of 20 on 4 carries for 30 yards. His long was 20. So I don't want to – I can't fault the running backs for how they performed. I think they did the best with what they were given because the O-line was very poor. But my question for the running back room is, are we going to redshirt Donaldson or not? What are we doing?
I'm not sure. I think he's appeared in 4 games. But at this point, I think he gives us the best look at running back. I mean, between him and Gilliam. Because the way I'm looking at this is the offensive line as we've discussed and we'll continue discussing, is a weakness. And we need a bigger, a little bit more physical back who's able to take defenders with him. And I think that Gilliam and Donaldson fit that description much better. And they are getting positive yardage on almost every run, and we're seeing Malik just getting swallowed up in the backfield. So, I mean, it's got to be tough when Malik is senior. He's stuck around. He's been in the program a long time, waited his turn to finally get some reps. But I think that Donaldson gives us the best chance at trying to have some balance on the offense. I mean, obviously, I still like using Sherrod in certain situations where maybe he's catching a pass out of the backfield or helping with run blocking on third down. But that's obviously a tough decision for coaching staff to make if they're going to kind of keep him to select situations and just go with the freshman. But I think that one of the bigger backs is going to be a key going forward to just try to help get a couple yards to just to keep some balance. Because, like I said, Malik was just not getting anything going this past game.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Real quick, then we'll get to wide receivers, get to the chat. Clarence, just don't think starting another quarterback is the only answer. The play calling has been questionable at best going back to last season. I can agree with that. Chris Lake, Donaldson is definitely the better back. Run blocking hasn't been great, but it seems to have been worse when Malik is in. It does seem that way. And then Andrew Wren says, Dwayne Wright vibes. I'm assuming about Donaldson.
Yeah.
That would be huge. We get anywhere close to Dwayne Wright, that would be awesome. Wide receivers, Raylan Sharp, 10 catches for 116 yards. Jalen Moss, 6 for 76. Magdalena, 4 for 70 and a touchdown. Cam Beecham, 2 for 17. Elijah Gilliam, 1 for 12. Josiah Freeman, 1 for 10. Malik Sherrod, 3 for 9. And Bryson Donaldson, 1 catch for 6 yards. Thoughts on wide receivers and the passing or the catching game? I don't want to say passing game, but receiving.
Sharp has really been the most productive receiver, which is kind of surprising. And he's been very sure-handed and seems to be one of Mikey's favorite targets. I mean, I'd like to see Jalen Moss get some more targets. I wasn't keying in on him too closely, seeing how if he was being covered and just wasn't open. I don't know, but I think Jalen Moss is still our best receiver, and so I want to get him the ball as many times as possible. Mac has been really steady and did get a touchdown this game, so that was good to see. But obviously, a lot of too little, too late, and all these passing yards didn't really amount to much, which is kind of surprising when you're looking at Mikey throwing over 300. But really, the offense still was not able to do much despite putting up decent passing yards.
Yeah, I thought they did good. They were a bright spot for this game when they had the opportunity to catch the ball and make a play. They did. Other than that, can't say much. I mean, when we caught the ball, we averaged 11 yards a catch. So that's huge. We just got to make sure we catch the ball. Mikey did have 2 fumbles. We jumped on both of them. Defensively, Caleb, thoughts on the defense?
Early, things were going pretty well. The Dogs forced a 3 and out, and then another punt. And then they later in the first half, they did force turnover on downs when UNLV was in the red zone. So that was a pretty big moment there. And so, I mean, early in the game, it felt like we still had a chance, and it was a couple, miscues that were basically putting UNLV in advantageous situations with the block punt, getting the interceptions and whatnot. So second half, I have no idea what happened. I mean, UNLV scored on every possession they had in the second half, and they just had the key to solving the Fresno State defense. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of mixed. Like we saw some good flashes at the beginning, but just out of gas in the second half, which has kind of been a similar story on several of these games, is starting fast on D and then just not being able to close it out and have a strong performance for 4 quarters.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, once again, your word, confusing. Okay, confused. Ricky White got the last laugh. I know Cam is ticked, and he's ready to get back at it because and the entire defense is. I'm here. I'll go numbers and let everybody know what happened. Alzillian Hamilton led the team. Well, there was 4 guys that had 6 tackles. Alzillian, Cam, Sione Noah, and Dean Clark. We had 0 sacks. We did have 3 TFLs. No interceptions. It just wasn't. They were kind of the bright spot early on in the season. Now they didn't really exist other than the first couple drives. So it's hard. Also, I just saw what Bulldogs Bob, and we failed to mention so far. Devo wasn't there. He didn't travel with the team. They didn't release what was going on, if he was injured, if he was just taking care of things. At least I didn't hear. They said he wasn't traveling the team. He's taking care of stuff. Have you heard anything, Caleb?
I've not. So that'll hopefully someone in the press conference tomorrow morning asks about him, because certainly questions. Hopefully it's not an injury, and we obviously need him because not being able to get any sacks and meaningful pressure on the quarterback is tough for the defense. But definitely big concern when one of your defensive leaders just is not present at a game.
Should mention Cam Braca was out as well, and I did see he had surgery.
Right.
I haven't seen a date put on his return yet. Have you?
No, Skipper called it a long-term injury, so I think that's pretty safe to say he's done for the year.
Yeah. Okay, real quick, Caleb. I just want to read this real quick, and this may be a bad way to move on to something else, to transition to something else. But I did want to read our possessions. So interception, punt, and that punt. And by the way, those drives were 2 plays, interception. That was the first drive. Then 3 plays, we gained 2 yards, punt. Then the next series we forced punts, we got the ball back, then 3 plays, -1 yard, punt. And on that punt, it was 0-0 at this time. That punt, I think De Jesus had a nice return on that one. Then they scored a touchdown. Then we have a punt blocked. We go down 14-0 because our punt team was struggling. And one of my keys to the game, Caleb, was field of dominating dominating in possession and winning the why am I going blank on the word? The field of play, field position. My gosh, I'm thinking field of play, and it's not field of play. Field position. Wow. It's getting late and I'm frustrated. We talked about that being a key to the game, and right away, Caleb, we go down 14-0 because of special teams, I would say. And then we get the ball back, punt, interception, and we're down 21-0 at half. At halftime, what was it like in Allegiant Stadium? We're down 21-0.
Well, Bulldog fans were quiet, I would say. Not that UNLV was really all that rambunctious, but most of the people around us were just asking, do we actually have a chance in this game? Because the offense is not showing any sign of life here. And, defense is kind of hanging around, but, it's going to take the offense scoring probably 5 touchdowns in the second half. I don't know if that's going to happen. So, not a ton of hope at halftime.
So we had a family reunion golf tournament, and the game had started. We were on hole 16. So I turn on the radio and we're listening to it. And by the time I get in the car, we were down 14-0. We had listened to the whole thing. And by the time I get home, it's halftime, down 21-0. And I'm getting ready to turn on the television, and I'm thinking this is going to be a long game. And to be honest, Caleb, I didn't have any hope at halftime. Just by what I was hearing from Pat Hill and Cam, they were not impressed. They said it looked bad, and those are guys that I believe. All the wind, all the air was sucked out of my household. There's no hope for Fresno State at halftime. Isn't that sad to say? I shouldn't admit that, but it was bad, man. And I didn't even see the game. I was just listening to the radio. So, we decided that we will not be giving out a player of the game or a play of the game. I honestly don't know what play I'd pick, what player I'd give it to.
I think the only play that might qualify is the 4th and goal stand for the defense early in the game. That was big, and that was kind of the only opportunity to for Fresno State to take advantage of some sort of momentum, and obviously they were not able to. So, other than that, there really weren't any plays or players, I guess, that deserved to be mentioned. I mean, that's kind of harsh to say, but I mean, it's just a beat down, and so it's hard to reward an individual player when that happens.
Player of the game, Haj Malik Williams. That's player of the game. What are your thoughts on UNLV?
They look really strong. I mean, I think that their offense is difficult to defend with kind of their unique formations. I mean, Williams is, big and strong and fast. Wow, how did this guy stay in FCS for 4 or 5 years? We need to get some better scouting on FCS for Fresno State. But you know what? Right. And so, and on the defensive side, I mean, I was really impressed with UNLV. It seemed like their defensive backs were all over our receivers, and they were getting really good pressure on us. I think maybe that's just the O-line issue, but I mean, their defense looked really good, and I think that they're going to be able to hang around with any of the rest of the Mountain West competition. So, to see them, I know that they play Boise at some point. I'm going to try to pull up their remaining schedule real quick. UNLV. I can't find them. Okay. So they have non-conference next week, Syracuse. Then they got Utah State, Oregon State, then Boise, Hawaii, San Diego State, San Jose, Nevada. So, I mean, really, Boise State's their only real contest, I think, and that's October 26th. And, if they take care of Boise, then I think obviously they're going to be in the conference championship. But then we're possibly looking at a rematch with Boise, which, seems like they're the two best teams right now. So that would be that'd be welcome.
Yeah, this UNLV team is legit. Here's what I noticed about their defense, Caleb, is that they're big boys.
Mm-hmm.
That was it Woodard.
Yeah, number 7. He was awesome. He was a really good player.
Yeah, they're no joke. So yeah, Woodard, he's number 7, and then Jalen Catalon led their team with 10 total tackles. They did have those 4 interceptions and a really good play. I thought that pick down the sideline, I don't remember who it was. Great pick though. He went up high pointing that ball. We're praising the other team, but they deserve it, man. They looked really good.
Yep.
Anything
so
on?
Well, I think the only concern for UNLV is after the season, because I have to imagine their coaching staff is going to be of interest to other P4 schools, and with UNLV sticking around in the Mountain West, they got a nice signing bonus, but are they going to be able to retain their coaches and their players? And, kind of what's the perception of UNLV going to be going forward? So I think as long as they have Coach Odom and, the bulk of that staff there, I think that they're going to be a problem going forward. But I wouldn't be surprised to see some change after the season if, the bigger paychecks come calling.
Mm-hmm. And I like their chances against Boise, by the way. I think that matchup is going to be pretty good. And I think it favors UNLV just because offense. And if they can shut down Jainty, which no one has done that yet, but if you can load the box, I think the DBs for UNLV are good enough to hang with their wide receivers, and Madsen's not good enough to get them the ball. If you stop Jainty, you stop Boise. And if Malik Williams can protect the ball, they win that game. So, man, I really like UNLV and their chances this year. Special teams wise, Caleb, we did talk about it for a lot of the time about the negatives about it. But Dylan Lynch, 2 for 2 on extra points. Clay Lawrence had 4 punts. He downed 2 in the 20. What are your thoughts on Clay punting the ball?
Well, I need to rewatch the block and see if that was something that he just took too long getting it out. But I mean, the punt rush was on him like so quickly. So obviously there was a hole. Yeah, I mean there was a hole that they identified and they took advantage. So really uncharacteristic, I feel like, for Coach Baxter special teams, because usually he's got all of those things covered and he's the one that's looking for the weakness to try to exploit. So, and then on the kick coverage touchdown, I mean, I wasn't totally surprised. We've seen some lapses in the kick coverage so far this season. So, I mean, you hate to see it, and we have good players out on kick coverage too. So, I don't know if that's just a credit to UNLV's special teams coach. I mean, whoever that is, it's they're doing a good job.
Okay, hear me out. I was just thinking about this right now. Tim, it's okay. We're glad to have you here. Said sorry for my tardiness, boys. You didn't miss much, Tim. Nothing positive. Put it that way. Here's what I was thinking right now, and you could tell me if I'm wrong. And this is just an observation. Seems to me as, with interim tag on Skip and Tedford stepping away, I don't think Tedford stepped away just out of the blue. I think Tedford kind of prepared everybody. But I'm wondering if, with Tedford gone, they're trying to figure out how to run things still. I'm wondering if it's a team effort right now and it's taking time away from what they used to, their specializations and or specialties. And if, those small things that make a big difference in games are getting looked over. I don't know. Just a quick observation that I thought of right now as we talk about these things and coaching staff. Maybe.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, Tedford's definitely still hanging around. I mean, he was there at the UNLV game. I mean, there was pictures of him on the sideline, so he's definitely still around. But yeah, I mean, I really don't know how much of this comes down to the head coach not being prepared or having the team prepared. And obviously, that was something that Tedford has always praised for, by basically everyone that is involved with Fresno State football, is how prepared he and the teams always were. So, it's a big shoes for Skipper to fill, and obviously he's still learning. He's early in the head coaching job, but yeah, I mean, what I was thinking about is that, do the offensive woes, I mean, they 100% fall on Pat McCann now, because I mean, most of the time when the offense is in a huddle, during a TV timeout or something, I mean, Skipper's not talking to him. He's, talking to the ref, or he's dealing, with some scheme, or talking to the defense. So, if we're talking about the offense, before Tedford, he's the offensive guru, QB whisperer. He's going to take the blame if, the offense isn't going well. Now we got the defensive head coach. And so, now all that is, I guess, on the offensive coordinator and all the position coaches. Like, are they not doing their job? So just kind of an interesting little change there, and see, I guess, where the pressure goes. Because, they're calling for Skip. But, I mean, if he's not an offensive coach, I mean, what's he going to do? Tell him, hey, play better, call better plays? Like, I don't know.
Well, it didn't go well for the defense either. It's just bad in general. Nathan, what's going on, Nathan? Good to see you, man. It got destroyed in every phase of the game, had all eyes on us, and had one of the program's worst losses. This, with us being, I believe we're on FS1 at 12:30. Mm-hmm. This does hurt us. I would say the Michigan game helped us up until we all figured out that Michigan was I mean, they're good, but they're not the Michigan of late. So these are the games we got to win when the entire country's looking at, like, hey, this is the top G5 matchup this week, along with Boise and Washington State. We can't wait to watch these games, and we just lay an egg. Bad. Nathan continues, Keene without Tedford looks completely different than last year. I agree. Even with a bad O-line. Bob says, remember, this is just Skip's 5th game as a head coach. It's not even his first full season, so he has a lot to learn. True. Tim says, Pat Hill on the radio coverage shared sometimes you just run into a hot team, which UNLV really is, and nothing can stop him. I wish that wasn't the case, but he's probably right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and they didn't turn the ball over. I mean, they played a really clean game and only had a handful of incompletions. I mean, Williams was he was like 11 for something. Hang on, let me get my stats back up here.
He was 13
for 16. So only had 3 incompletions. So just a really efficient day. And obviously they were able to run the ball well.
13 for 16, 182 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Also led the team in carries with 12, ran for 119 yards and a touchdown. Led the team in yards on the ground as well. And then Ricky White, like we said earlier, 10 receptions, 127 yards and 2 tutties. I mean, UNLV's good. I'm happy for the Mountain West. I would love to see Mountain West representation in the college football playoff, whether it be Boise or UNLV. I'd much rather have it be UNLV, especially after this loss. Anything else, Caleb, about this game? Because to be honest, I don't have anything else to say. I think everybody in the chat is correct. It was bad overall. We have a lot to work on. I hope we learned our lesson from this game and we get better on all phases.
Yeah, I'm glad we got a bye week this week. There's, I think, a lot of adjustments, improvements that need to be done, and just for the team to get healthy. An extra week of rest, I think, will be useful. So I'm sure the coaching staff's going to be working overtime, and we need to get ready for a really tough Washington State team because, this is, can we call it a make or break game? I think that, if the Dogs lose again, I mean, the fan support is going to diminish, I think. And then, we're fighting a 500 year, if we're kind of looking worst case scenario. But obviously this team can score points. I mean, we've seen the first, or games 2, 3, 4 that, they can score 38, 42 points. So, we're definitely going to need that against Washington State.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Dude, Washington State game is going to be, I'm interested to see how the fans react in Fresno. Do we continue to fill the stadium? I think the students will show up because it's just a big party, which is great. Hopefully they show up early and stick around late, but we'll see. I'm very curious to see what it's like walking around the office tomorrow and, being on the phone, talking to a lot of people. I hear a lot too from clients that I speak with. And I'm curious to see what is said this week. Real quick, Bulldogs Bob, let's finish up in the chat. You can tell how old a Bulldog fan is by their reaction. A lot of Bulldog fans that are high schoolers got their taste of what the Hill Boise matchups were like.
Very true.
Dude, I even remember Ryan Matthews running all over Boise, having a career day, and we still lost.
Yeah, I mean that's why like the wins at home against Boise were so monumental for us because they were few and far between.
Oh man. Nathan says Skip should be on the hot seat if he loses by multiple scores to Washington State. Besides that team and San Jose, we can still win out and possibly make it to the Mountain West Championship game. Which Nathan makes a good point. We could lose to Washington State. Doesn't mean anything for the Mountain West. We just got to do our job though. We got to win. We got to win. However, we can do that. We just need to win. And I would agree if he gets blasted by Washington State or has another, like the game that we had against San Jose State last year, a game like that, I would start to question, okay, let's see what else is going on out there in the coaching world. So we'll see. But I think Skip can get the guys on the right page. I know he can. The boys are not happy with that performance. They'll get it right. Bulldogs Ball. Basketball season is coming up. Are you guys excited? And will you recap the games like last year? Yes, I'm excited, and I will be recapping the games like last year. I do not want to speak for Pletz. Pletz is he's hit or miss basketball. If he watches the game, he will be here recapping. Otherwise, my brother and I will be recapping all the basketball games. We got YouTube TV to watch basketball games this year, so I have to watch them because I'm not going to spend that money for no reason. So
there you go. I will say I am excited for basketball. I mean, it's really only up from here, and there's a lot of hype with all. I mean, it's a whole new team, and hopefully, it's fun.
There was a video that was released over the weekend of the basketball squad in practice. And you can just see the energy that they have. Like we've seen these videos before, and it's hard. It's preseason. It's highlight video. They put all the best things together. But if you look at the basketball video, there's a difference with how guys are attacking the rim. When they're attacking the rim, they're attacking to take your head off and rip the rim down. And that's what we like seeing. And that's the style of basketball that Wahlberg plays. He's going to have these kids playing, and he has freak athletes on the team. So granted, we're in the Mountain West right now. Great basketball conference. It's not getting any easier. This conference is very good. So the fact that we have this hate your mother mentality, I really like. So Bulldogs Bob, Washington State will be a sellout. Already 33,000 tickets sold. Washington State is a meme, but school in this town. Sorry, Bob, I'm not sure what you're saying at the end there, but back to the tickets, that's huge. If we have 33,000 tickets sold, and now we just need the red seats to show up. Caleb, get your red seats to show up.
Yeah, that's going to continue to be a problem. Unfortunately, I don't have the solution.
Do we know, or do we have a game time for Washington State? We will preview the game later in the week. It's still to be determined on the Fox network.
Yeah, I think they announce it usually like 8 days before, or it's like either 8 or 10 days before. So probably this week they're going to announce that.
Okay. Washington State's big name school in this town. Got it. All right, Caleb, I got nothing else. I think we'll get out of here, get some rest, and get ready for the rest of this week. And we're going to need it. All right. Okay. Anything else, Caleb? We good?
I think we covered it. Let's flush this one. We're going to go 1-0 against Washington State. Just moving on.
This one's in the trash. Threw this one away. Hey, just so you guys know, for God so loved the world, that he sent his only son, that whoever believes in him, Jesus Christ, shall not perish, but have eternal life. Thank you guys for all the support. We appreciate it. And as always, big win, big loss. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.